Hey everybody, it's Kasha Gage. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing a walkthrough of my Week in the Life album for 2022. Now, you may have seen my album setup, and I can post that for you up above as well. I have gone ahead and changed a few things out since then, and I'll go through and explain anything I've used here or just kind of some of my formula. And I'll also be sure to link all of the supplies down in the comments below. So let's get started. One thing I did switch up is the album. In my album setup, I was using the gray linen 10x8 album, and I went ahead and purchased this stripe 10x8 album that was part of the 10x8 collection. And again, pretty much I followed a formula for every day, which I did share some of that in that video, but we'll go ahead. I'll try to keep a condensed version sharing it again. My opening of my album, one thing I like to do is always put a transparency on top of the photo, and I love to open with a photo. And part of that is just because it ends up protecting that photo rather than it just rubbing against if I put an embellishment here or just the inside cover. So pulled one from my stash. It's handwriting in white. I love that it matches the other transparencies that were an add-on part of this year's collection. Doing a 4-inch circle. I did this also on every day of the week, every day of the week, so Monday through Sunday. There's a digital stamp that had the word stories with the circle, and then you had the abbreviated days, and so that's what I ended up using. Adding a little white chipboard that says Week in the Life. On the back, my reason why, again, that's a 4-inch circle, text formatted in that shape, and then a little label tag that I ended up making. And I used the font Impact or Impact Label, I can't remember, but I will be sure to find that and also share that below. Opening with a full page photo of the three of us, my husband, myself, and our dog Henry. Every year I like to start with a photo. In the past couple years, I've done one of my husband and I, walking away from the camera, and I love that. And my intention to do a photo of the three of us, from the backside. Life just didn't quite work out that way. So we posed for a quick one in our stairwell. The backside, using a 10x8 template that was part of the template pack, and I had this by the numbers. I tweaked it a little bit so that way it would be outside the page protector. I also added in a couple of my own activities. Lisa Varshine, you may know her as Freckle Pickle. She did a great job. It included a wide variety of activities. There were just some things that I kept track of personally I wanted to include. So such as poop bags, how many, which is hysterical, right? How many we picked up of Henry's, miles walked, photos taken, those types of things. I loved just seeing that kind of visually represented via numbers, and it just shows the little snapshot to the week. Opening into Monday, again, so every day of the week has a circle that's done in black, a 4-inch circle, and on the back side, another 4-inch circle with just the date stamp repeated, and adding a label for whichever prompt I was using for that day. This week I used a total of 7 different prompts, or if you want to call them lenses. I personally find that I love that for this project. One, it can just really help narrow in some of that journaling for each day, and it can pull out lots of great stories that may have been unexpected. In certain cases, also, I may have found by using, say, for instance, that prompt or lens, that it can also help direct some of the photos I may take. This year, it wasn't necessarily the case, but it still was great to go back and have like a jumping off point for all of my journaling. Opening with a full page photo of Henry and I in bed, backside, photo of myself. Every day of the week opens with a page protector, and that's the configuration of the 2 4x6s and the 2 4x4s. So in the main kit, there was this die cut. I think it was in maybe gold foil, or I know it was gold, but it had the abbreviated days of the week. Now, I personally did not purchase any physical supplies other than the album and the days of the week transparencies. I really wanted to use digital supplies and also use some product that I had here in the stash. Not a right way or wrong way, it's just, that's what worked for my way this year. So I die cut these, I used my silhouette, and that's just on white cardstock. And I did put a transparency behind that just to help it not move around so much, and some word phrase stickers that are on both sides to kind of keep it in place a little. Quote, I went through my digital supplies stash from like the kits and if there were freebies or the story kits, and pulled out 7 different quotes, and those are all on a black background. Included the QR code. So one thing that was different this year for my week in life documenting, I took lots of video over the course of every day. And at the course of, say, at the end of the day or that next morning, I compiled them into one video and shared them as reels on Instagram. So here I went to Instagram on my desktop, and they have an option for, I think it's either share as a QR code, something of that nature. I know you can't do the QR code on your phone, at least at this time when I'm recording. But so I downloaded the QR code, and it said something like Instagram Reel shared on, and then it had my Instagram handle. So I just changed that up a little bit, put scan here to watch Monday, just to give a signifier for whomever looks at this album to scan with their phone. In the walkthrough, you may have seen I had started out with color for the journal card, like those days, and I ended up switching to black. Well, I changed my mind and decided to go back to color. Also, I ended up using I want to remember rather than looking back at, just to mix it up a little bit. And how I tackled this part of the journaling, it was going through my photos for each day or some of my journaling. I pulled out other things I might want to remember. A few photos of Henry from the park. I did print all of my photos at home. Either on my Epson PM400 or Epson XP 15000. So my 4x4s and my 4x6s, I printed those all on the Epson PM400 and just did the 4x6, the borderless option. So it gives a little excess on these 4x4s that you have to trim, but I was okay with that. And the full page photos are 11 by 8.25 to be sized for outside the page protector. Here's what I consider part of like my main spread. And I did this for every day. Some days the photo's on the right side, some days it's on the left side. I didn't intentionally plan it that way as far as where they were gonna go, but I think almost it works out somehow that they all alternate. They all could have been the same position. It just depended upon the photo. So part of this is a white background and then the photo, and then obviously my journaling. Then using the font called Oregon, I do have that link for you below, I typed out the day. And so the white background's here, I did white text here for part of the abbreviated day. And then on this side, I took part of my photo and clipped it over onto that. So it wasn't just like then using black, or just kind of nice to tie both of those together. If you guys want any type of quick tutorial on that, just let me know and I will get it up for you guys. Pool time, basic things kind of around the house, some play times. Another journaling card, this is a repeated element for every day. And I used the digital stamp with the word story. And then there were these cute handwritten days of the week in Allie's handwriting, and those fit right in the O. So that's part of how I tackled some of the other journaling. You'll see here, I do have a lot of journaling on photos, and then I do have my journal cards. I added all of my journaling in Photoshop before printing out the photos. And a few photos I didn't add journaling on just because I felt like I didn't have any more to say, or I wanted that photo to speak to itself. The primary embellishment I used throughout this album were these white, if you want to call them like word phrase chipboard, and that is from a past year's collection, but I did see it is available digitally in the shop if you're interested in using something similar. So I will make sure to add that to the list of supplies used. Another 4x4 journaling card. Palm trees at sunset. I unintentionally have the palm trees represented every day of the week. Going into this, I loosely thought, okay, what am I gonna take a repeating photo of for each day? And I didn't have a plan. A couple past years I've done my coffee cup or me drinking coffee or making the coffee. Last year I did a photo of the sky every day and then included the weather for that day. But this year it happened to work out that I have the palm trees in some manner, and I absolutely love that. Going into Tuesday, this was loving this. Me and Henry in the morning. Me and Henry on a walk, doing our capturing our shadows. For about probably 95% of this album, photos were all taken with my big camera. I have a Nikon Z7 SLR that's a mirrorless, and that's what I carried around. I did also have, though, my phone on me all day because I was capturing a lot of video. So for instance, like this one, I ended up taking that with my camera and it worked just fine. More of Tuesday, it was a lot of running errands. Tuesday was busy and I had a lot more photos on Tuesday. Again, here is where you see that spread, the 2-page spread. So in this instance, I have the photo on the right, my journaling on the left, and masking this photo on the left-hand side. Photo of the Huntington Beach Pier, and then standing below the pier, get some of that ocean and the sky. Here you see again those palm trees. Some of Tuesday. Here's a photo, for instance, looking to different ways you can capture. So here's like a photo of a photo. This was in our car. It has a 360 camera, and when pulling into the garage, it had come on, and so I quickly snapped a photo of that. Editing some photos in Lightroom. Doing a flat lay. What am I loving? We have in this house almost every color of the rainbow for tennis shoes. And if I could have a closet full of them, I would. But just pulling out a couple of pairs and, you know, in a little bit of a rainbow fashion, and just talking a little bit about loving those. Been working out, some shopping, taking naps, resting, more walks. Here's a photo that, for instance, I took this in that morning of Tuesday, and the same with this next photo. Henry's such a little helper, but I felt it just made more sense to put it towards the back, and it was just a decision, you know, I ended up making. It probably could have been fine in the very beginning of Tuesday, but I just chose to move it towards the end. Wednesday, right now, photo of our hands. We were on the bed and just happened to capture that. Then what it was looking up, you know, from the view from the bed. So you get a little bit of movement. The ceiling fan was on. Going for walks, leaving the community we live in. One thing I will say, it was probably around Wednesday, I started to kind of consider or think more about that when I did this, call of this a sandwich spread, I really tried to think of it as a story. So setting the scene, more of the scene between the next two. So here's my husband. We got a little bit of pool time that afternoon while Henry napped. Myself swimming. For this photo, my husband took this of me, and we just used our iPhone camera. We both have an iPhone 12 Pro, and just submerged it in the water and took the shot. And we did several different photos and stuff. You may see more of those come up in later projects. One quick tip on that, you want to be sure that your phone is charged before you say take it underwater or get it wet, just because it will need quite a bit of time to dry out. Another photo outside the pool. Getting some time in my office to craft. Doing the basics, you know, laundry, Henry's helping, a Zoom call. This week, I swear his confidence grew like none other. That evening, he loves to drink water, like out of the bathtub, even though he just drank water, for instance, going upstairs. And this night, Ben was running water in the sink, trying to brush his teeth, and Henry stood on the bathtub and climbed up to the sink. I mean, he's just so confident. Photo of my husband. One thing we've been watching quite a bit of is Top Chef, or going back through old seasons. So he had his laptop and just snapped a photo of him. I love that I've taken a similar photo of him with the TV or with a cell phone or an iPad over the years. And what I especially love about this one is it captures a different side of his face. So this one, it's the left side, where past years it's been the right. And that's just because where our bedroom, how it's configured now, he sleeps on, I guess you would say, the right side of the bed, and I sleep on the left. So I was able to get the left side of his face. Moving into Thursday, using the lens of like this Thursday as a jumping off point. Backside of my head, right? Capturing all those crazy curls. And then a photo of me twirling my curls. It's a habit I've had ever since I was a kid. It's just, that's a lot of times natural. Looking at some of the basic stuff that goes on, trying to decide what to wear, going for car rides in the morning, another cup of coffee, catching up on some journaling. Here's another photo of shoes. Now this is a great example where before you saw I did a flat lay of shoes, and here is just a top down of the shoes. And as I was taking Henry out for a walk, I just happened to notice like the light was coming through our patio doors, and just like instantly reached for my camera. I loved the contrast of the colors. I loved the light peeking through in the dark. So you can take photos of the same things, but just changing your view, whether you're getting down low, you're getting up high, you're doing a top down, you're arranging it in some fashion. Just a great reminder, you can take photos of the same things. A Zoom call that was with Kristen Tweedle for an episode of her podcast, Crest Yes Female. Absolutely love that conversation. It was just, that was a really good talk, and I was so thankful to be a guest on her podcast. Catching a little sleep. Again, so you saw the view that I was down on Henry's level where I took a photo of him with a dishwasher, and here's one, a top down of him. Okay, I'm gonna help again. Same thing, a top down. He discovered how to drink out of the toilet this week. It was just puppies, right? Puppies. Here, for instance, on Thursday, I ended up putting my spread towards the end of the album. For me, it just felt like it made sense and it flowed better as far as the story I was telling, and kind of being more towards the nighttime. Photo of my husband and I. We went to the beach for a puppy play date, and I packed all my camera gear, my tripod. Had an intention that we would have, say, been further back and in the water, and Henry was with us. No, it did not go to plan. It was also especially windy out, so and with the beach was busier than we had expected as well, so I didn't feel the most comfortable putting up my tripod and with all the dogs running. So the couple we were with, I handed my camera off to one of the women, and she snapped this photo for us, which I'm thankful to get us both in the frame. Taking a silhouette photo of myself jumping in the ocean. And then Henry playing in the sand. Oh my gosh, our tub was completely filled with sand once we got back to the house. Friday, it's through the lens. So another reflection photo, this time is just myself. I happen to really love the trees that were dancing, and I know this one was taken with my phone. Some of the mess, an unmade bed, some clothes left on the nightstand, the lampshade slightly crooked. That's real life. Here we go into some photos of Henry. One thing I think I had done on Friday is, like there were photos of, say, Henry, photos of my husband, and I know I really focused on that on Saturday too. But, eating, digging in the dirt. He learned how to climb into chairs and up onto the table this week. It was just madness. It was madness. Thought we had moved past some of that stage, but taking him to the playground. Photo of my husband. If you've seen some of my stories over the past few months, you know that, or maybe you've seen them, but one of the things I love to do is take sunglass photos. I know that might sound funny, but I take a lot of different photos of my husband with his sunglasses, and different angles, different times of the day, different places. I love, one, that I'm capturing him, but it's also great because it's a way that I'm bringing myself into the frame. It's kind of like saying, I'm here with you, or this is the two of us. That's something I really enjoy doing and playing with, and seeing how many different photos I can take. And I've been adding to that series quite a bit. So it'll be fun. I might have to do a mini book of that or something. The Mess, Evidence Left Behind from Henry. And here you can see though I used a couple different chipboards as opposed to just those, I don't even know where one, like these little white ones. So ones that made sense or helped move that story forward for me is what I ended up pulling in. Another Zoom call that was with the One Little Word community. Some more light and dark, just basics going on. Here's a photo, for example, of I had taken of us playing cards, and there was a lot of negative space down below. And I think originally I had intended that because I was going to add journaling, but I just found I didn't have an enormous amount to say, so my journaling ended up on that journal card and just filled that in with some alpha stickers. But even though it's a little crooked, I'm just leaving it, it's fine. Hard eyes for the two of them in bed. More light and dark, captured from our walk. Moving into Saturday, this is currently. So part of that, I used a lot of them, the ing words, whether it's feeling, going, watching, reading, a lot of the ing words. You kind of get the drift. Again, more light and dark. I love paying attention to that throughout the house and how the light changes. And as I was going to feed Henry that morning, I really noticed the blinds and how they were casting this cool shadow on the floor. This is an example of feeling. So Saturday I was wearing a t-shirt that said love, and I had the idea immediately then to write about what am I loving. So this kind of went on just a full brain dump of everything, you know, love first things, like currently feeling all the love for our life, love for my husband, love for Henry, love for our neighbors, love for friendships made. So you can kind of get the gist. And that was just a big dump. And I love it doing something like that. So here's a little bit on where Saturday I did say part of myself, then I do my husband, and then I do some of Henry. So tried to make sure that we were all in the shot, or some of our stories, you know, and the basics routines throughout the day were captured. So waking up, getting ready, running out to the car. For this flat lay, I laid out my skincare products, just arranged them on a piece of white foam board, and I specifically left this space right here empty, that negative space, because I knew I wanted to be able to add journaling. And the Basics of Daily Life, that title was on a 10x8 template. And I believe it also had like arrows that you could draw, that were drawn on there. You could move around, but I decided to only use this, the Basics of Daily Life, and use that in my different flat lays. So I also ended up adding what the products were named and talking a little bit about just recently changing up my skincare routine. Here's books. I had considered doing a flat lay, but instead I opted to just throw these and put them in the, here's what happened. So I put them in, stacked them in a chair while I was getting everything ready on one of our tables. And instead I thought, I prefer this. So I'm currently not reading. Since we've gotten Henry, it's been a couple months now, but my focus has just shifted entirely more towards him. And I find I'm not interested in reading right now. And I'm okay with that. I know it's an ebb and a flow. My interest will definitely circle back around. So here's another example, like where I was talking about doing some of myself, and then here's some of Ben. But this is a great where it's like a series. So for instance, you have him my husband Ben getting into the fridge, then you see him cooking, then you see him eating. So even in some of your own photography, whether it was for a week in the life, or you do this in other memory keeping projects, thinking about the different activities you do, let's say the beginning and the middle and the end, or other shots you can capture along with that tell a full story. Some of Mr. Henry, so waking up, hanging out by the fridge, going for walks, being in the car. And same thing on Saturday, I ended up doing my spread, and then another page towards the end. It just made sense, just where I threw things. So it wasn't 100% formulaic with where always my photos went. Just kind of always depended. So my husband's feet when we were at the playground, Henry going down the slide, that was super fun. So here, I'm talking about we're exploring the park, taking him down the slide. We are meeting up for a puppy play date, just some of those. Photo of me hanging out on the playground. Then here's another flat lay. This is with some makeup and just, again, using that same title. I added my own numbers next to the different beauty products. And yeah, I know a couple of them ended up crooked. I didn't worry about it. I wasn't trying to make it 100% perfect. Down below, I have the numbers that correspond with the product. Photo of Mr. Henry at one of the gates. Again, getting those palm trees in. I love this view of seeing the sunset. Sunday is gratitude. I personally love to have one day in the album focused solely on gratitude. In the past couple of years, it's always been Sunday. And it happened to work out again Sunday this year for where everything was going. I will say I really like ending the album or, the last day of this documenting week with gratitude. I feel it just takes me back to my reason why, and then just being able to express so much thanks and love towards my life, the things that make it up, the people and places that do as well. Photo of my husband and I in the shower. More of Sunday. Going in the car, a bagel. Here's kind of a funny one of the gas price. Well, funny, not funny. So 2 years ago, in 2020, we were living in Connecticut then, and I think during Week in the Life, gas was like $1.30 per gallon. Even last year, if I remember right, it was closer to like $1.50, $1.60. And now, obviously, California is higher. I think around December, we were paying like $3.79, $3.99 for premium. And now we're paying $6.19 a gallon for premium. So definitely a huge change. This next photo I do have covered because it is an indicator of our street signs, but it has a pole with both of the street names and then a blue sky. Backside of Sunday, PCH, that's one of the main highways here in California along the coast. So as we were driving out that morning, capturing a photo of that. And obviously you can tell the ocean's right behind it. And here, I'll end up sharing this day words, partly because I think it's a good example that you can always have positive and negative, and there's a place for both in the story, or I'll just start reading. If you told me a year ago I'd be living in California, I would have said, yeah, right, and laughed in your face. Never in a million years would I have guessed that California is now where we call home. This time last year, it was a debate for both Ben and me, but we both arrived at the conclusion that now was the time to do so, seeing how we don't have children and we're not attached to Connecticut. When we first moved here, we stayed in an Airbnb in Marina del Rey, Venice. We were a 2-minute walk to the beach, and it felt like we were on holiday. Talk about privilege, I know. We did love being so close to the water, though, that we were determined to find a place to live that provided that amenity. Huntington Beach, aka Surf City, USA, is where we settled on, and we moved into our place last November. We didn't process it at the time that we were moving into a townhome. Somehow, we overlooked that part. I will say that living in a townhome that's in an HOA isn't ideal for us, especially with Henry. It's been hard not having a yard, space, or privacy. Not to mention, this house isn't what we're used to, nor is it what we want when we plan to buy in the next 1 to 2 years. But we've made it our home. Shortly after settling here in Huntington Beach, I felt anger, regret, and overall hatred towards California. Reality finally set in that this was now home. We are not on an extended holiday. Part of that is because I'm used to having seasons, being from the Midwest. For me, seasons are a way I mark time and transition in my life, and no longer having seasons, instead it just being one, was especially hard. But today I can say that California has really grown on me. I've heard it has a way of doing that to people. I don't know if I'm in love with it yet, but I find that I do really like it and am enjoying the weather, where we live, and the people we've met. That's progress. I'm grateful for Ben's position with Warner Media that brought us here. I'm thankful that we both said yes and decided to take a chance to move here. I'm thankful for where we live in our community. In this community, we have made great friends, Henry too, and for that I'm especially thankful. Who knows what the future will hold? If this time next year we'll be buying a home here in Cali or moving back east. But for now, I'm celebrating and giving thanks for where we are and simply savoring the season of life. So what I was starting to say is that, you know, at least for me in memory keeping, there's a place for the hard stories and the good stories. And I especially love that this gives a nod to some of the hard stuff for when we moved here, and even that decision to move here, and coming kind of full circle of where I am now and where we are now, and that I'm just so thankful that we did move here, that we did take a chance. So maybe that can just serve as a reminder or inspiration for you guys in your journaling that, you know, things might be tough, but after some time, after some perspective, you're able to see things in more of a positive and new light. All right, finishing up here, that elusive grocery store aisle shot, right? Here I added the plastic word, the phrase give thanks. That was from the Thankful Story Kit. And I tried a different type of adhesive and it didn't give me, there still shows a little bit, but rather than it pulling it off and maybe not being able to get it off of that transparent piece, I just left it and I'm fine with it. Again, some more of that, say, series that you're telling that story, right? So headed to the car, I went into the grocery store, here's what was in the cart, and then making the food. So, you know, looking at the photos of that make up the whole. Henry in the dryer, yes, it happens. He at least helped me. He pulled out a couple socks I left behind. Taking out the trash, just what makes up our day, right? Glad that we got it out that night before early morning pickup. Some of my husband's products left on the counter. A moment of us hanging out in bed. And then ending with a photo of Ben and Henry on our evening walk. So that's a look at my 2022 Week in the Life album. As I said at the beginning, this is by far my favorite. And I know it's just for a multitude of reasons. You know, I'm not sure. Today I would say I would use the same album size next year, but who knows what next year will hold. If you guys have any questions or comments, please be sure to leave them below as far as any products or tips, techniques, tricks, anything like that. And until next time, everyone, take care. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for more videos in the future.